Welcome to our podcast, When Life Gives You Lemons. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Palmy. We consider ourselves disability advocates and intend to highlight some disability issues and things we find interesting that we frequently encounter when we're out and about. Also, some history on disability that we find interesting. This year, we're going to include more of the interviews of the people that the disability affects. We hope you enjoy it.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to our podcast, When Life Gives You Lemons. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Palmy.
And
what are we talking about?
Well, we teased last week we're going to talk about the Capitol Crawl.
What is the Capitol Crawl, Kevin?
It's the protest that moved a nation.
What does that mean?
Well, here in the U.S., we have a law that protects people with disabilities. Makes, for example, builders build buildings that are, have wide enough doorways to accommodate wheelchairs. Specifically instructs hotels they have to have disabled rooms, etc.
But we didn't have that before.
No, we
Not
didn't
before
have that
1990.
before. In 1990, the Congress was pretty much in some kind of stalemate situation, and
they were just being lazy
like
and not wanting to do anything.
Right now.
Yeah.
There's nothing going through Congress. Either one party or the other doesn't like it, and it
meant people had to spend money, is what it was, and they weren't wanting people to have to spend money, basically, or to tell people that they had to spend money. So, what they did was basically shame them. I mean, quite honestly, that's what they did. These protesters shamed them into acting.
And we're going to explain how they did it.
Yeah.
And this is entertaining if you've lived in the U.S. and already have these laws. It's kind of, okay, it's nice to know how we got there, but, it doesn't really do much for you. But there are people out there that are living in places that don't have these kind of laws that protect or assist disabled people.
Still, yeah.
So this may give them some ideas. It wasn't something that came easily in America because it did involve, at least initially, spending money.
All right. Let me set the scene.
Okay.
Imagine yourself dragging yourself up 83 stone steps because the law still does not see you. Leaving wheelchairs behind, hands on concrete, chanting, echoing, just to try to be seen. And that's what the march, the Capitol Crawl, the protest that moved a nation was all about.
A bunch of disabled people got together and had convinced Congress that they needed to have a hearing on the subject, and Congress agreed and scheduled a day and a time.
There was a bill. It was called ADA bill, and it stalled in Congress. And activists were frustrated, growing after years of slow progress. They introduced the adaptive, and the ADA is the Adaptive American Disability for Access to Public Transit, and their organized style. They had been trying to get this to pass for several years. And so on March 12th of 1990, activists gathered at the White House. The decision to stage a dramatic, undeniable demonstration, the symbiotic power of leaving behind mobile aids, to set the scene, they invited crowds, media, and it involved perceived tension between the crowds and the media. And the crawl itself was 60 plus activists beginning to climb the steps of the Capitol stairs.
Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the U.S. Capitol building, but these are like hard...
Concrete.
No, I think they're marble steps.
What are they?
Marble.
Marble?
Yeah.
Okay. So 60 plus activists, including children. The highlight was an 8-year-old child, Jennifer Keelan, who pulling herself up, saying, "I'll take all night if I have to."
And so basically, the point was to try and shame Congress because there was no ramp to get into the Capitol building where they had this scheduled hearing to appear at. So they got the point across because if you can imagine that 8-year-old crawling up the steps.
That was just one of them. There was multiples.
Yeah. Photographers, I'm sure, had a field day with the pictures that came out of this. And basically, the public outcry, and they gained a lot more support. Why are you making these kids crawl up these steps?
Yeah, the aftermath and the legislative impact of the protesters, it effectively made the ADA bill pass in 4 weeks or 4 months later, which still, that's a long time, but progress is slow.
Well, I think most Americans have a problem with once it did pass. It didn't so
here's the problem with it. It had no legs.
It passed.
Yeah. It provided the long-term impacts were the ramps, the curb cuts, the accessible transit, workplace protection, but it didn't have legs, and so there's no enforcement of it.
Right. If you recall correctly, our last interviewee, Wendy, had a job. It was a job she'd acquired shortly before it passed, and she had her accident just a couple weeks after it passed. She was a spinal cord injury, and it was a car wreck. And suddenly she found herself in kind of a hostile work environment because they didn't want to make the accommodations for her to work there. But she pretty much needed the accommodations to work there
in order to be able to have an income. Yeah. What people able people don't understand is people who have these disabilities, they don't want money just handed to them. They want to be able to work and earn their way for their income.
Yeah.
In most cases. I mean, there are some people that don't just want to be handed money, but in most cases, these are people that want to have a life that is a normal life like they used to have before they had these disabilities. It's does a lot of damage to your self-esteem when you can't be a working member of society anymore.
It sure does.
Yeah. So.
And also, because, like I said initially, they had to spend money, but nowadays, I mean, builders just automatically order the right size door frames for doors, so it's
no, that's
really
not true.
No extra cost.
When we were looking at houses, to buy houses and stuff.
If it's built after, I think, 1982, it just has to automatically...
No, we had to buy the 36-inch doors. They were 32, and we had to ask for an additional 36-inch doors.
Now, our contractor is cheap. They should. They make.
I think if it's public, if it's a public, but I don't think housing wise they do it automatically.
I think that's one of the problems that we also discovered that was frustrating for Americans is it doesn't really apply as much to private as it does to public.
Right, yeah. And also the fact that there is no enforcement of it.
It's the only recourse you have is a civil recourse.
Right.
It's not like you get a citation or
because if there's a handicap parking on a private, like a shopping mall or something like that, that property is owned by the shopping company, and so the police don't monitor those. You can call the police and say someone's parking in a handicapped spot, and they won't give a ticket. It's up to because it's on a private parking lot.
The other problem I have with it is almost every handicapped spot in this country, anyway, has a tollway minimum. Whatever it is, $2.50, I think it is, a dollar fine. Well, fines don't really impact everybody equally. Fines really impact lesser income people as opposed to like wealthy people.
Right.
Who could care less if they get a ticket or have to pay a fine. It's not a big thing.
But so those are ongoing accessibility challenges that that weren't fought. The bill was passed, but there are still challenges that need to be fought against. Maybe we need to do another crawl.
Perhaps we do.
Yeah. Did you say? I heard you say when we were teasing this last week that they redo this every March. Is it in Washington?
I believe so. Yes.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I don't guarantee that. I just read that somewhere. I can't remember where I read it.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, actually, Washington, D.C. is really pretty to visit this time of year in spring. It's when the cherry blossoms that were a gift from Japan bloom. You have cherry blossom trees blooming all over the place. Mm-hmm. The weather's not as hot and humid as it will get in a month or so. So, yeah. Now's the time to do it. I guess I picked a good time to do the crawl too, March. Yeah, it should be a good time, not in the winter, not in the summer. Because they have winters kind of like they do in Missouri. I think where we have high humidity, it just seems so darn bitterly cold.
Yeah. Okay, does that sum it up for the crawl then?
I think it does. Just recall that's what it took, and the generation that was prevalent during that time is responsible for it. It's up to us to keep moving forward, not let it go away.
Yep. Any housekeeping?
Just a little bit. A gentle reminder, please visit our website at www.whenlifegivesyoulemons, all one word, .net, and give us a like if you got some value from this, and go ahead and subscribe if you want to hear more.
All right. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye now.